Hey everyone, welcome to the live stream. Today I started the broadcast a few minutes before I joined, as was requested last time. Is that easier? Is that better for you? Let me know in the comments if that makes it easier to find the live stream wherever you're watching it. Hello everyone, Greg, Dom, Sammy, Suna. Hello, good evening, good morning, good everything, Rich. Yeah, good to see you guys. You guys are all in Europe. Hey, Tomas, Axel, you guys are all in Europe dealing with winter windsurfing conditions. Hello, the Fed and Eric. What does your week look like? Your month look like? Are you getting in the water at all? And if you are getting in the water, does that mean that you're sailing at home? Or are you traveling? Are you going to the Canary Islands or somewhere else? Cabo Verde, Cape Town. See, Caro is in Cape Town. Is that Caro in the comments? For some reason, the Facebook names, sometimes they show up and sometimes they don't. But I know that Caro is in Cape Town. And so that is one way to escape the Northern European winter, is to fly to the other side of the world. Rich is saying no wind and lots of work. That's good too. I think it's good to have seasons with your windsurfing. If you're windsurfing all the time, yeah, that sounds great. And it is great to a certain extent, but I think it's good to have extended breaks to let your body and your mind rest. And that allows you to go harder when you are on the water. It allows you to really push, because if you have just no breaks and you're just always going on the water, you can fall into certain ruts or bad habits, and it's just mentally really difficult to push yourself the same intensity the whole time. So if you have a break, you take off 6 weeks, 2 months, and then you get back into it, you'll find you come back with a lot more motivation. Yeah, so Alex is on the west coast of Ireland. The Fed is in Canos de Meca. I have never windsurfed in Canos de Meca, but it is one place that I would like to go. It's near Tarifa, and it looks really fun. So is Canos de Meca as fun as it looks in the videos? The videos of Canos de Meca look amazing. Long, nice waves. Eric sailed in 6 °C air. That's actually not so bad. I think over 5 I can handle. Once it gets more around 1-2 degrees, I really have a hard time. Hey, Ragnar did some ice windsurfing. That's cool. He posted a video too. We're gonna check that out. Hey, Matt. Hey, Greg. Windless South Coast. Caro is working on her forward loops. That's awesome. All right, Greg is going to Fuerteventura for a week in 2 weeks. That sounds fun. All right, I've been sailing too. I had a lot of days actually, since I saw you guys last. Yesterday, I was working on my jumping, so I didn't go out at Hokipa. Hokipa actually looked pretty fun, and there's nobody out. I've never seen that before. It was good wind, good waves, and nobody out. I don't know where they all are. It's February in general is a quiet time on Maui, which is nice. I wanted to do some jumping practice. I'm planning to go to the World Cup in Japan, and I haven't done much starboard tack jumping in the last couple of years, but the event in Japan can have a lot of jumping. So I wanted to do some practice. So I went to a spot that's better for jumping than Hokipa, and it was kind of gusty. I was on a 4.7, but it was fun. Good training conditions, a little bit onshore, not always filled in enough to get some good jumps, but enough to work on my basics, work on the back loops, the 1 foot back loops, the 1 hand 1 foot back loops, push loops forwards. And it was nice. It was interesting. I haven't done a lot of starboard tack jumping, but I didn't fall on anything. So worked on some back loops and 1 foot back loops and 1 hand 1 foot back loops, and everything just seemed to be working, which is nice. I actually wasn't expecting that. All right. Axel saying that Conos de Mecca is more of a jumping spot. Interesting. I did not know that. I have the picture in my mind of those long blue waves. All right. I'm going to load up the Facebook group and let's get into the coaching. You guys know the drill, but if anyone is new joining us, first of all, say hi in the chat, introduce yourself. Where are you from? What are you working on right now in the water? And 2, you can always interrupt me in the comments and ask your questions. All right. I'm going to load up the Facebook group. Okay, Facebook group. Load it up. All right, first up, we have a question from Dolph. Does anyone have experience sailing in Tahiti? When is the best time to go? Good question. I don't have an answer. I've never been to Tahiti. The big wave season for Tahiti is in the northern hemisphere we call the summer months. So it would be from June to September, I guess, when you get the big south swells that hit Tahiti. But I'm really not an expert. This is a good question, and I think we'll find some answers. I will also reach out to people I know who do have experience windsurfing in Tahiti. I think that it can be really fun. I've heard there's a lot of wind. It's not, for most people, it's not going to be in Chopu where you're going, but I think it can be a lot of fun. I know Greg is saying I wasn't trying hard enough if I wasn't falling. I was thinking that to myself too. And so I was like, okay, well, it's time to push and try some other jumps. But the wind just wasn't there by the end of the session, so I came in. But you're right, Greg. That it was going through my mind. I was thinking, okay, I'm not falling. I've got to keep upping the stakes. So it's like, okay, 1 foot back loops. All right, I'm landing those. 1 hand, 1 foot back loops. Oh, okay, I'm landing those. And then I got to keep pushing it higher and higher. But I didn't get the conditions. All right, next up, we have a question from Jeff. Oh, wait, Mark is in the chat. Hey, Mark. Mark is in our Vulcan course. A few of you guys are in our Vulcan course. Greg as well. And the next workshop for that is on Wednesday. I'm looking forward to it as well. You guys are doing good. Dom is asking, are most of the pros going to Japan with more events? Do you think some will choose not to do all the events? Definitely. There are still some bugs to work out in terms of how the events count and how the entry system counts, and what I'm not directly involved anymore. I'm still on some of the committees, but I'm no longer on the management side of the PWA. But so all of that needs to be worked out. But ideally, and this is one of the goals, the pros don't have to go to every event, so they can pick and choose. Some riders still will go to every event, but the goal is to make a system where not everyone has to go to every event. Dom is saying that Japan is 5 stars, and that is correct. So there's a star system now for the events. More stars equals more points, and Japan is full points, 5 stars, as high as it goes, which is cool. Japan is one of the big windsurfing markets in the world. Just big windsurfing communities. It doesn't have to be tied to capitalism. It's just a big windsurfing community, and yeah, it's awesome. I love going to Japan. I've been maybe 7 times for windsurfing. This will be my 8th time, and I've gone to this event how many times have I competed in this event? Maybe 4 times. I won it once, I came second once, and I came third once. So I think I've had every position on the podium. And I'm looking forward to go back. Then the last time I went, I didn't do well at all. I think I lost in the first or the second round. I did a jump that it was like one jump and 2 waves counting. And I did my jump in the beginning of the heat. All right, my jump is done. Did my wave rides, all good. Came in and they're like, yeah, your jump was 1 second before the horn and it didn't count. And so then I lost the heat. And I was like, what? And even then it was close because my wave scores were good, but I lost the heat the first round. And I went through, so this is the last event I did in Japan, which is the same event. It's had different names over the years. And it was an interesting experience for me because at first I was just devastated and I was thinking, okay, can I try to get it changed? Because by my watch, it was in time, the jump. And I was like, well, maybe they got the timing wrong. But it was a good experience for me to just let go of it and just say, it doesn't matter. Just take it in stride, have a good time. They're not going to change it, and I'm not going to win any friends by complaining about it. So it was a good lesson for me, a humbling lesson, but a good one. How many of you guys follow the Pro Tour? How many of you look at either the results or watch the live streams or the highlights? Just follow it in any way. Let's get a show of hands in the chat, and then we're going to move on to Jeff's question. And Jeff, if you're with us, I heard it's your birthday, so happy birthday. So Jeff says that he was talking to an Italian ex-pro about his desire to really improve his wave sailing, and he wants consistent, predictable conditions. He suggested Oahu in June, July, specifically Diamond Head. Thoughts, other places. Diamond Head, I don't have a lot of experiences with Diamond Head. I've never windsurfed there. I have been there. I've never windsurfed. The wind is a lot lighter than on Maui. The windsurfing scene is a lot less than what it used to be in the past. It's still a place that you can go for sure. And I think it would be interesting. You're in Honolulu, which is a city. I think it's interesting. For consistency, there isn't anywhere that I know that beats Maui. Maui is incredibly consistent for wind and waves. Sure, you can get skunked. You can come for 2 weeks and not get any wind. That's possible. But if you're here for 2 months, it's more, how do I say this? If you're here for 2 months, you're going to get more good days than 2 months anywhere else in the world. And even the bad days, like there was another day this week where the conditions were bad based on Maui. And so I think there was only one guy windsurfing. And a day like that in Klitmuller or Tenerife would be one of the best days. It would be above average day. Maybe not one of the best days, but an above average day. And so the waves, like even when it's flat, you still have 1 meter, 1.5 meter waves. Maui is incredibly, incredibly good for consistent windsurfing. The problem is, if you're coming from Europe, it's really far. It's expensive. So there are definitely challenges. It's starboard tack. So if you want to improve your port tack, then it doesn't really help. But training both tacks, Jeff, is also one way to improve your wave sailing. So by working on both sides, it also will help you a lot. Maui, though, is more of a fall and spring location. In the summer, you're not going to get the conditions that you want. So if you're looking for somewhere to go in the summer, then maybe Diamond Head is a good place. I'm not sure. Diamond Head, the wind is light. Jeff, I know you're a bigger guy. I don't know. I don't know how challenging that would be. It would be definitely a nice experience going there, learning about Oahu and Honolulu. I think it would be interesting. I think you would have a good time. In terms of one of the best places to improve, I'm not sure. I think it would be really interesting. Otherwise, in the summer months, Morocco is very close to Europe. I feel like the quality of life in Morocco is a lot more personal preference. Some people love it. For other people, not so much. Or maybe they have a more sensitive digestive system and they get sick a lot from the food or the water. So it's tricky. Oahu and Maui are full on first world, but you pay for it, right? You pay a lot more to stay there versus Morocco. But Morocco in the summer can be really consistent. It's like similar wind consistency to the Canary Islands, to Gran Canaria, but you get more waves. It's just way more consistent on the waves. Where you stay, whether it's best to stay in Mule or Essaouira, I feel like if you're going for a long time, Mule is too remote. I think you'd start going crazy. So then it's better to stay in Essaouira, but then that means that you have to drive. I don't know what's ideal. I don't know what's ideal. What are some of the other comments that people say? Something I add in my response to Jeff is Pacasmayo. I think Pacasmayo in Peru also is good. I'm not sure if it's as consistent, but you get these really long waves. And so if you're getting 10, 12 turns on a wave, each wave is worth one or two is worth like 6 waves or more in another spot. If you're normally getting just 2 turns on a wave in another spot, in some spots you only get 1 turn on a wave. So then 1 wave in Pacasmayo is like 10 waves at these other spots. And so you're getting really a lot more training, and that compounds over time. So I think Pacasmayo would be interesting. I've had some interest from people about doing coaching in Pacasmayo. I've had a few people messaging me privately. And so that's something that I'm looking to organize. I'm not sure if that's something I can do this year. It might be something that needs to happen next year, but it's something I'm very interested in. Jordy says that Pozo is very consistent in the summer, and that's true. But I think Jeff wants to focus more on his wave riding, and Pozo's not great for the wave riding. So I mentioned Pacasmayo. Another good place for improving is San Carlos in Baja. And it's similar to Pacasmayo in that it has these really long waves. And what's nice is the waves break almost the same every time. And so it allows you to really train because you just have a similar setup every time. And all right, what else? What else? Dana says the Oregon coast. The Oregon coast can definitely be consistent in the summer. I'm not sure about Australia. So we see Australia come up. I've never been to Australia. Australia is one of the few big windsurfing destinations that I've never been to. I don't know how consistent it is. I've heard that there's a ton of driving and you have to be willing to drive 10, 12 hours to get to the spots. I'm not sure though. I'm not an expert. Cape Town. I love Cape Town. It's not that great for consistent windsurfing. That's maybe a controversial thing to say. Cape Town, I love Cape Town. I love windsurfing in Cape Town. I love the place. And Cape Town, you can windsurf almost every day if you're willing to drive for it. Whether you're going down to the Cape or whether you're going somewhere more north, you have to be really aware of what the forecast is and what that means. But then you can sail every day. I think the general level though of the conditions is just average, which is fine. average is fine, and you can get above average conditions as well. I love Cape Town. I'm not trying to say anything negative about Cape Town. Like, for example, Maui, you get much higher quality conditions for the same period of time. Yeah, Casper says he went to Maui in August, had wind every day for 45 days, scored 1.5 meter waves at the minimum. Yeah, Maui is pretty special. Bart is saying that he watches the dream locations of the events. Jeff, if you're joining us, let us know about your planning. And like I already said, happy birthday. All right, next up, we've got a post from Roland. Did any of you guys figure out how not to bend your front arm during the front loop? I think I would be doing pretty good if the damn thing would stay straight. Yeah, this is an issue. This is an issue that comes up, and it's related to an even bigger issue in coaching. And this is something that I would like to solve or have a good answer for. And to be honest, I don't right now. And the issue is knowing what you need to do, one very specific technical thing, yet not being able to implement it on the water. And so in this example, it's getting that front arm straight, which is important in the forward loop. But as you can see, Roland pulls in with both arms, boom, boom. When he goes for his forward, still manages to get an okay rotation. Looks like he's coming around, landing on his back, landing the loop. I mean, landed is landed. A little bit of water start, but that's a make. Good job, Roland. One thing that you can think about conceptually to help get the front arm straight is instead of thinking about sheeting in, pulling in on the sail, you want to think about trying to spin the sail. And so if you're holding onto the boom and you're trying to spin the sail downwind, then you're pushing with the front hand and pulling with the backhand to get the sail to spin. Does that make sense? And if you have that same concept, it can also make it easier to look back over your shoulder. And that is the other big thing that you need to do, Roland, that will make your loops more horizontal, more controlled, is get your head looking back over that shoulder, which is in the direction of your rotation, because a forward loop is a spin downwind. And what can be good with the boom is to think about trying to spin everything. And so if you're thinking about trying to get that sail spun around, if you're just pulling on it like this, it's not going to do it. But if you're pushing with your front hand and pulling with your backhand, that's going to get the sail doing a rotation, right? Does that make sense? Does that concept make sense? All right, moving on. Rasmus says, hello, surf sailors. What are your thoughts about the Unified Wave Tour? As a starting point, I post this YouTube video, which gives a good invite into a discussion. Maybe Graham can give insight about it, eliminating speculation. Yeah, so the Unified Tour is taking events that are traditionally IWT events and making them count, or giving them points that count towards the world ranking in addition to the PWA points. And this is creating a unified tour, hence the name. It's something that is good for the sport, I believe, because a lot of the IWT events are conditions that are lacking on the PWA tour. Down the line wave riding, starboard tack jumping. And so having both kinds of events count towards a world title is a lot better for determining a world champion. And also it's just a lot fairer in terms of creating a world ranking. I wish it had happened 10 years ago. I'm on the tail end of my competitive career. I'm focusing more on the coaching. 10 years ago, this would have been awesome for me. And it's something that I worked on to do when I was on the management board of the PWA. but the world wasn't ready for it back then. The riders didn't want to take the cuts in prize money and in standards that it requires, because just the truth is that the IWT events are much less funded than the PWA events. And so when I was trying to make this happen, the riders weren't willing to have reduced standards to go to better locations or more varied locations. But that's changed. Now the riders are more willing. And two, the IWT was less willing to cooperate and come to an agreement, a compromise where the two tours could fit together. That's changed as well, and so now we have this unified tour. I think is really good for the sport, and yeah, like I said, I wish it happened 10 years ago. So Greg is saying on the forward loop, there's a natural instinct of defense, pulling your body together and hanging onto your support in the boom in the case of looping. That's true. And so you want to think about being more active rather than passive, and you're controlling the rotation. You're the center of the rotation, which also then puts less force on your body, because if you're the center of the wheel, you have a lot less force than if you're out on the end of the wheel in that rotation. All right, Tomas is saying, do I expect any riders that so far only did IWT to do major damage in the PWA fleet? No, I don't. Will not happen, because the top IWT riders are also good PWA riders as well. You know, Morgan has won 2 PWA events. Bent Roediger has won a PWA event. Antoine Martin started with the PWA and then has done a lot of the IWT. I can't think of anyone that is in the top from the IWT pool that hasn't done PWA events consistently in the past. All right, so let's move on. We've got this post from Bart about Jaws and about Polikow testing quality. So let's watch the video. Jaws is an awesome wave. There's so much power in this wave. So here's Polikow. It's a photo sequence. Whew. It looks like he's getting stuck behind the peak, can't make it past, gets pounded, and goes up on the rocks. So I think he's on the rocks not because he got washed onto them, but he's trying to rescue his board. So his board got washed into the rocks, and he's trying to rescue it. These rocks are really gnarly. I've had a few experiences on these rocks, and it depends. Some days they're gnarlier than others. It's like these boulders that are being moved by the power of the ocean. It's gnarly. So here you see Polikow's grabbed his board. So that was his mission. You generally don't have to come in on the rocks. Jaws it's cliffs and rocks, gnarly shoreline. So the way that almost everyone gets there, not everyone, but almost everyone, is with either a boat or a jet ski. I've had a lot of experiences trying to get there without a boat or a jet ski, and it's my version of like free soloing or something like that, where I want to be able to get in and out of the water without mechanical assistance and have a session without mechanical assistance. And so there are places I've found where I can jump off the rocks or cliffs to get in the water, and other places to come in. And I've had some bad experiences, some of which I've talked about on the channel. And I've also had some really good experiences. But most people generally are going with a boat or a jet ski, and I do that too. I like figuring out the sort of the free solo version of windsurfing Jaws. That's something that is important to me, but it's not something I do every time. Also, I like having boat assistance sometimes as well. But anyway, the point is that he's coming in on these rocks to rescue his board. It's not that he's washed on the rocks. It's gnarly. This is incredibly gnarly. I think if that was my board, I love my boards. Maybe I would go in and risk my life to save them, but maybe not. But Polikow, this is Jason Polikow, and he has a very different fear tolerance than anyone else I've ever met. I remember once going to Jaws with Polika, and we were windsurfing, and coming back, I'm on the jet ski with him, and there are massive waves. God, this is so gnarly. I've had similar experiences to this. I mean, not exactly like this, but I've been pounded in this shore break that breaks on these rocks, and it is so gnarly. It's one of the few experiences I've had in the ocean where I've just really been scared. Normally, I'm not scared. Or it's a different kind of fear, whereas it's a more rational fear. Whereas this is the only place where I've started to have a hint of panic, of, oh my God, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I mean, he's just getting so destroyed. I mean, this is so gnarly, getting pounded on these rocks like this. Anyway, Polika has a really different fear tolerance. I remember coming back from Jaws with him, and there are these huge waves that break on the cliffs, and he would come with the jet ski, and it was the most fun thing for him on these shore break waves. They're breaking on the cliffs to ride right on the top as it's feathering, as the waves are feathering with the jet ski as we're driving back down the coast. And what was hilarious about this situation is we were towing another ski. So I think it was Julien Taboulet and someone else on a ski, and their ski had broken down and they needed a rescue. So we were towing their ski. And that meant, because we're towing them, that they were behind us. So it was even later for them. And they were just terrified. And they couldn't, I don't know, I think it was like they were trying to shout to us, but we couldn't really hear them. And so Polika is having a ton of fun coming on these waves that are breaking, huge waves, right? Like 5-6 bigger meter waves breaking as shore break on these cliffs. And he's just like on the part that's just about to break, but we're towing the ski behind us. And those guys were losing their minds. They were so scared on their dead ski as Polika was taking them back that way. Anyway, the point is just that Polika has a different fear tolerance than most people, and I don't know if I would do this. This is pretty gnarly, dealing with this shore break and these rocks. In fact, I won't. After my last experience with these rocks, where I was thoroughly pounded and destroyed a lot of gear, I told myself that I would never get in that situation again, because it was one of the only situations I've ever been in, maybe the only situation I've ever been in, where I truly felt helpless or over my head, because the water is just moving. I mean, look at the shore break. There's the shore break. Look how huge this whitewater is, pounding into these rocks. And these are boulders, and the boulders move with the water. And yes, I remember being stuck in here somewhere and just thinking, this is a situation that maybe I can't get out of. And so then after that, I said, all right, I'm never going to do that again. All right. There was a question here from Greg. Is there no other way out from the rocks than paddling in again? Yeah, so you can, there's no other, once you're on the rocks, that's how you have to get back out into the water. Otherwise, you climb up the cliff and you get a ride to somewhere else, and then you go with a boat around again. It's like a 15-minute boat ride, jet ski ride from the nearest boat ramp. But yeah, there's generally, you don't launch at Jaws. I have launched at Jaws a couple times. Other people have as well. Sometimes it's gone well, sometimes not. All right. Hey, Christoph from Santa Cruz. No windsurfing this week. Sorry to hear that. What are you doing instead? All right. Here is the survey if you're interested in doing a live in-person windsurfing masterclass on Maui with me. End of April, early May. There are 2 sets of dates, or even 3 sets of dates, I'm not sure, in the survey. If you're interested, fill out the survey. This will help me immensely to plan one of these courses. If there's enough interest, we could do two courses as well. But I think for my time, my schedule, there I can probably only do one. But I'm looking forward to it. I think doing a course on Maui will be really exciting, and I have a lot to offer. There are a few big questions in terms of how to plan the course. Because Maui is my home, I can show people around the island. I can show people interesting things about the mountain and the hikes, and I can show uh, my favorite secret restaurants and all of that in addition to the windsurfing. I mean, we can do a lot with the windsurfing. So the kind of masterclass that it is will depend on what people want, whether it's something that's more of a total experience or fully focused on the windsurfing. But it's something that I am looking forward to doing. I think there's a lot of fun that can be had. Anyway, so if you're interested, find this in the Facebook group, fill it out. I will also send it to my mailing list. I don't think I've sent it yet. If you're not on the mailing list, you can go to windsurfingmasterclass.com and all the websites. I'm going to make everything prettier. I'm working with a designer now to figure stuff out. Everything's going to be prettier. Right now, it's just functional, not pretty at all. There's no design in it. But anyway, go to windsurfingmasterclass.com. You can put your name in to get on that mailing list. And I'm going to mail this survey out there. I think I posted it on the YouTube. If not, I'll post it again on the YouTube if you're just if you're not on Facebook, but you are on YouTube. Chris, Chris is asking how to answer the, Christoph is asking how to answer it. Sorry, how to access the survey. I'll post it in, here, I can post it in the chat now too. Here, let's see if this works. Doesn't really work. I'll post it on, I guess I could do it like this. I don't know if that works. Here, let's see. All right. There. That link in the chat will get you there, Christoph. All right. Dom asks, for the lay days during your clinics, are you doing a how to repair your board? I haven't so far, but that is a good skill to learn for sure. I don't know if I'm the best one to teach it. I do pretty basic repairs with SolarRes. All right, let's move on. Ragnar tried ice surfing today. It was 5 to 10 knots and really easy to learn. I want to try this. This looks really cool. It was so fun that I decided to order my own board from Sharp for ice boards. And so now he can windsurf in the winter. Riding the board feels like something between skateboard, snowboard, and windsurfing. Easy to learn. This looks really cool. Let's watch the video. Interesting. There's much less friction on ice, and so you can go really fast, and you don't need much wind or much sail. It's very cool to see how maneuverable these boards are. What I've seen previously was more like a fixed kind of skate thing that didn't look very maneuverable. It was more for going fast. This looks fun. This looks fun. It reminds me of skateboarding, whether the windsurf skateboarding, wind skating. but you can go, I guess, a lot faster on the ice. For anyone else who's tried this, how fast can you go? I've seen some ice sailing footage where people are going really fast, which also scares me a bit. I mean, they're going like, I don't know, really, really fast. But this looks cool. This looks cool. Interesting. All right, that is it. We are caught up. These are some other comments on this post that are new. Yeah, Ragnar saying that they can do over 60 knots. That's awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So fast. All right, guys. I am going to say peace and head out. It looks like the trees are blowing here out the window. You guys can see them in the corner there. We've got another windy day. I'm going to try and jump on the water myself. I hope you guys have a good week, and I will see you next week, Sunday. If you're interested in doing the Maui Masterclass, fill out the survey. It helps me plan the course, figure out what kind of course to create. Gives me a rough idea of how many people are interested. So that's very helpful. And I will see you guys in the Facebook group. Remember to post your questions, comments, concerns, all of the above. If you are not going to windsurf this week and you still want to do something to improve your windsurfing, watch windsurfing. You can watch videos on YouTube. You can watch videos on Continent 7. That's one of the best ways to improve. One of the homework pieces from the Vulcan course that is happening right now is to watch Vulcan videos every day. Every day. Just gets it in your brain, and your brain can start working on the technique even when you're not on the water. All right, I will see you next week, Sunday, and in the Facebook group. Have a great week. Take care.